Welcome back to my movie review series. On today's episode, I will be reviewing the 2019 Sony Pictures animation movie, that is, Angry Birds Movie 2. No wonder the movie sequel to the Angry Birds movie. What an improvement that I find the sequel better than the first part. Even if Sony Pictures Animation was involved in the movie is based on Angry Birds mobile game by Rovio Entertainment. The movie premiered on August 14th. 2019, the movie airs on FX Movie Channel, Freeform, and streaming on HBO Max, Hulu, its beta on Disney+, and Netflix. Several years after the events of the first film, Red protects Bird Island from the pigs, led by King Leonard Mudbeard, who are in a prank war against the birds and have rebuilt Piggy Island. One day, a giant ice ball from nearby Eagle Island hits the sea near Piggy Island, forcing the pigs to seek and agree to a permanent truce with the birds. Zeta, the leader of Eagle Island, is angry with her frozen surroundings and wants to occupy the two islands by shooting ice balls from a super weapon to force their inhabitants to evacuate. Red's two best friends, Chuck and Bomb, surprise and ask Red to join them in a speed dating activity, where Red meets Chuck's sister Silver, an engineering student, who deems Red incompatible. Meanwhile, Zoe, the daughter of Red's classmate Terrence and teacher Matilda, loses the eggs containing her unborn sisters while playing with her friends, Vincent and Samantha, so they try to recover the eggs. Leonard visits and convinces Red to form an alliance, recruiting Chuck, Bomb, Silver, Mighty Eagle, and Leonard's new assistant Courtney. A secret meeting in Mighty Eagle's cave gets disrupted when Zeta's super weapon hits Eagle Mountain, which alarms the other birds living on Bird Island. As the team, now joined by Pig Agiteer Gary, travels to Eagle Island by submarine, Red assures the other birds that they do not need to evacuate. As they set off on their adventure, it's now up to the birds and pigs to confront Zeta and destroy the super weapon. The story is actually pretty solid and a big improvement from the first movie, as while there are still a few issues I have with it, like some weak jokes and some bad attempts to try and be trendy, this sequel overall has a much better and more interesting plot that has some plot twists that I didn't see coming. There are some very funny jokes in this. The action scenes are a lot of fun, and it has its own sense of heart and charm that does manage to be about on par with the charm of the games. The humor in this movie is much better this time, as while there are still a small handful of weak jokes that fail, a good chunk of the humor in this one does manage to hit its mark and get some good laughs, like some of the witty banter and dialogue between the characters, the gags and visual humor, the occasional slapstick, the dark humor and occasional adult joke, some of the gross-out humor, and so on. This film also has a good amount of heart and charm that can almost match the charm of the games by having some pretty charming moments throughout the course of the movie. The action scenes are still pretty fun, and there's several more this time as opposed to just saving it until the end like the first one did. These scenes would include the opening battle montage between the birds and the pigs, Red and the gang escaping from Eagle Mountain, and the climax where Red and the team take on Zeta and try to destroy the weapon. The animation has received a good update from the first movie and does look pretty solid, with the characters all having some pretty good designs that are accompanied by some very fluid and lively movements. The backgrounds and settings are very well crafted and do have some very nice details, and there are some pretty good special effects. The characters are also a big upgrade, as while the last movie did have a small handful of decent characters while everyone else was forgettable, this time around, even if they are still simplistic in terms of characterization, and a couple of the more decent characters from the first movie like Terrence and Matilda are reduced to just having cameos, Almost everyone is pretty likable and memorable and do have some fun chemistry and dynamics, wit and humor, personality, and even some charm and charisma, such as the returning characters from the first film like Red, Chuck, and Bomb, as well as some that are much better this time around like Leonard and the Mighty Eagle, whose name is revealed to be Ethan, and the new characters are also pretty good like Silver, Courtney, Zoe, Vincent, Samantha, Debbie, Glenn, and Zeta, who's a pretty decent and fun villain. The voice acting is still pretty solid, as the voice actors do still manage to give some good performances like Jason Sudeikis as Red, Josh Gad as Chuck, Danny McBride as Bomb, Bill Hader as Leonard, Awkwafina as Courtney, Peter Dinklage as Ethan the Mighty Eagle, Rachel Bloom as Silver, Leslie Jones as Zeta, Tiffany Haddish as Debbie, and so on. Heitor Pereira returns from the first movie to give the sequel a much more memorable and nice-sounding score that is still well composed, and it does manage to capture the movie's comedic, charming, and adventurous score. Verdict: 7.5 out of 10. This sequel is a huge improvement over the first movie, as this one is much more entertaining, funny, and charming. If you're a fan of the games, then this movie is worth checking out. It's even a good recommendation for casual viewers too.